I am so excited to talk about my most anticipated books of 2021. So today is Christmas Eve and I really wanted to film a video today, so I got on my most comfy sweater. This is from Target. I put on some red lipstick and I'm so excited because I have this list on Goodreads of my most anticipated books that are going to be releasing in 2021, and I've been wanting to share them with you all. And we're just gonna go through this list. There are quite a few books on here. I really tried to limit myself with what I put on this list, mainly because I know that I'm not really in the mood for contemporary right now, so there's not very much contemporary on this list. It's mainly going to be fantasy. So if you're not interested in the fantasy releases for next year, maybe this isn't going to be the video for you, but if you are very interested in them, this is perfect. So as always, all of the books will be listed in the description down below, as well as the Goodreads links. So if you feel like you don't get enough information from this video, you can always go to Goodreads, check it out for yourself. And without further ado, because we have so many books to get through, we are just gonna go right on into this list. So I have my iPad with me, and the first book on this list is The Wild Ones by Nafisa Azad. And I actually hadn't had this book on my radar until I got a comment about it on one of my last videos, and now I'm super intrigued by it. So basically this book is about a group of teenage girls and they all have magic and they have to save the life of a boy whose magic saved them. So this one is super interesting to me because it feels both a fantasy book and also magical realism. Because the main character, a girl named Paheli, is sold off by her mother, and when she escapes she's helped by this boy and he gives her a box of stars, and then she uses those stars to find other girls with magic and kind of band together with them. And then she ends up finding out that that boy who gave her the box of stars is actually in trouble, and so they have to go off and save him. So it seems like the narrative kind of comes full circle, and I'm super excited about this because I love the description of the stars and how he has stars in his eyes and he gives her a box of stars and that's where the magic comes from. So I'm super excited about this book. I've never read any of her other books because I know that her debut came out, I want to say, in 2019. However, I feel like this book kind of speaks to me a little bit more. It seems like something I'd be super interested in, so I'm very excited about this release. Also, isn't the cover like just absolutely gorgeous? Like, oh, I'm such like a cover by reader. I love beautiful covers. The next one I'm really interested in, this is Darling by Kay Ingram, and this kind of seems like a really interesting Peter Pan retelling. I've never actually read really any Peter Pan retellings, but I love Peter Pan as a story. I've read the original, I love the Disney movie, so I feel like reading a retelling will be a lot of fun. And this one I don't believe is a fantasy. It says it's a YA thriller, and it's about Wendy, and in her first night in Chicago she meets a boy named Peter, and he's dizzying, captivating, and beautiful, so she agrees to join him for a night on the town. Wendy thinks they're heading to a party, but instead they're soon running in the city's underground. She makes friends, a punk girl named Tinkerbell, and the Lost Boys Peter watches over. And she makes enemies, the terrifying Detective Hook, and maybe Peter himself, as his sinister secrets start coming to light. So this sounds like a really cool, modern, thriller, dark reimagining of Peter Pan. I'm so excited because it feels like something that like I've never seen before. Not that I've really looked for a lot of Peter Pan retellings, but this feels really different, so I'm so excited. Also another author that I haven't really read any books of, but I do have The Wicker King by Kay Ingram, and I definitely want to read it. And I feel like maybe I should read that book before I get into Darling, but I'm very excited about Darling as well. The next book is another gorgeous cover, and that is Blood Like Magic by Lizelle Sambury. And this says, a rich, dark urban fantasy debut following a teen witch who is given a horrifying task, sacrificing her first love to save her family's magic. The problem is she's never been in love. She'll have to find the perfect guy before she can kill him. And I love that premise so much. And I always love those kind of stories where it's sort of star-crossed, like one of the people has to fall in love but they also have to kill them. I love that trope so much. It feels almost like reluctant enemies to lovers. At least that's the kind of the vibe that I'm getting. I don't know if that's going to be true or not, but definitely sort of a reluctant enemies to lovers because she has to find a boy to fall in love with and kill him. So that's going to be really interesting. I'm so excited for this book. And there also seems to be a bit of like a family dynamic element to this book as well, because in order to save her family's magic, she has to do this task. And I also really love that as well. I really gravitate towards books with really interesting family dynamics, so this is going to be perfect. So now we get into some of the Star Wars books that I'm super excited to read. There are many. I actually still have a few Star Wars books on my shelf that I really need to read, but it's okay. There are going to be more that I'm going to have to add to my shelf. I love Star Wars books. They're so much fun to read, and the ones coming out in 2021 are like, I'm very excited. So this one is by one of my favorite Star Wars writers of all time. She's so good, Claudia Gray. It's Into the Dark. And my first impression with this premise is that I don't know how excited I'm going to be about it, but I feel like with the books that I'm a little bit hesitant for in the Star Wars canon, especially if they're written by Claudia Gray, I end up really liking. So I was pretty hesitant about Lost Stars, and then I ended up loving it. So I'm really looking forward to this book. So it seems like it's kind of like a mystery set in the Star Wars universe. Basically, this Padawan is sent from Coruscant into this undeveloped frontier, and he's not super excited about it, but then his ship is knocked out of hyperspace and ends up landing on an abandoned space station, and there are a lot of mysteries and things to uncover, and that sounds really exciting. I'm not a huge fan of like the mystery sort of genre, I guess. I don't read a lot of mysteries, and the ones that I have tried to read, I'm like not super into them, but I feel like with the Star Wars universe as the background, I might really enjoy this. And especially with Claudia Gray's writing, it really sucks you in, and I feel like she knows the Star Wars universe so well that I have really high hopes for this book. And she always brings something really new to the Star Wars universe as well. Like, there's always little elements within her books that make it so much richer and so much more of like an expansive experience. So I'm really excited about it. So if you are a Star Wars fan as well, you might want to go check out Claudia Gray's Star Wars books. I think they are the cream of the crop, and I'm hoping that this one will be no different. Okay, so the next book is probably one of my favorite covers for the next year, at least of the ones that have been released. And this is The Chosen and the Beautiful by Nhi Vo. And this cover is gorgeous. Oh my gosh, like I've never seen it before. I just kind of came across it and it's beautiful. I love this cover. So it says immigrant, socialite, magician, which immediately catches my attention. I am immediately like, I need this book already. Just those three words together, perfect, sold, I want it. Jordan Baker grows up in the most rarefied circles of 1920s American society. She has money, education, a killer golf handicap, and invitations to some of the most exclusive parties of the jazz age. She's also queer, Asian, adopted, and treated as an exotic attraction by her peers, while the most important doors remain closed to her. But the world is full of wonders, infernal pacts and dazzling illusions, lost ghosts and elemental mysteries. In all paper is fire, and Jordan can burn the cut paper heart out of a man. She just has to learn how. Nhi Vo's debut novel reinvents the classic of the American canon as a coming-of-age story full of magic, mystery, and glittering excess, and introduces a major new literary voice. Which I wanted to read the entire description to y'all because this description, I had to read the entire thing because it immediately sucked me in. I wanted to know more. I typically, when I'm even excited about a book, I won't read the whole description because I don't really want to be spoiled for anything. But with this book, it just, I needed to know more. Like every sentence, I'm like, I need to know more about this book. This is so intriguing. Just like all of the different elements of things that I love are in this book. There's like, you know, this glittering society in the 1920s, there's magic, there's queerness, which is going to be exciting, and I love the idea that this book is kind of taking the literary canon that kind of represents the 1920s and doing it its own way and doing it in this really new, unique voice. And I'm so excited for this book. This might be one of my like ultimate like top 5 most anticipated books of 2021. I'm just so excited about all of the magic and the society and the history, stuff like that. I'm really excited for this book. I'm sorry I'm saying excited so much for this one, but I'm ready for it. This is gonna be really good. The next book, another gorgeous cover. This is 6 Crimson Cranes by Elizabeth Lim. and I'm very, very excited about this one as well. Another one that has magic. Like I said, this list is going to be mainly fantasy with maybe a little bit of like thriller and sci-fi thrown into there, but mainly it's going to be fantasy. So this book is about the main character named Shiori, and she has this magic that she's supposed to keep a secret. But one day her stepmother, I think it's her stepmother, yeah. But one day her stepmother banishes her and turns her brothers into cranes. And while Shiori searches for her brother, she starts to uncover all of these secrets about the kingdom and also this conspiracy to take the throne. And in order to save the kingdom, she has to put her trust into this boy that she did not want to marry, and she also has to embrace her powers. And I am very excited about this book. I love that kind of narrative where the main character has these powers that are very strong and that they have a hard time keeping up with, and then they have to use their powers and figure out how to control them in order to save the kingdom, the world, whatever. I'm totally a sucker for that narrative. I just love it so, so much, and when there's magic involved, it's going to like be really high up on my list. The next one I believe is technically contemporary, and that is The Ghost We Keep by Mason Deaver. And I actually read Mason Deaver's book, I want to say last year, 2 years ago, I think. 1 year ago. Last year. Oh my gosh. I feel like this year has been like 2 years. So I cannot remember when I read Mason Deaver's first book, but I do remember really enjoying it. And I'm very, very excited about this next book. And it says, when Liam Cooper's older brother Ethan is killed in a hit and run, Liam has to not only learn to face the world without one of the people he loved the most, but also face the fading relationship with his two best friends. Feeling more alone and isolated than ever, Liam finds himself sharing time with Marcus, Ethan's best friend, and through Marcus, Liam finds the one person that seems to know exactly what they're going through, for the better and for the worse. And this book seems to be really, really interesting. I used to love YA contemporary books that dealt with grief, and I haven't read one in a really, really long time. I feel like one of the last ones I read was that one book by Nina LaCour, We Are Okay. I loved that book, but it totally destroyed me. And I feel like after that, I went through this phase of like, I just need really, really fluffy contemporaries, really happy contemporaries. But I'm now starting to feel like, okay, I think I can go back to kind of my more, not necessarily depressing contemporaries, but just contemporaries that deal with sort of sadder topics. And I'm very, very excited about this one. I really, really enjoyed Mason Deaver's other book. That was I Wish You All the Best. I actually got an arc of that from Y'all West last year, and I read it. Super, super loved it. It was so much fun to read. And I'm really looking forward to this next book because I feel like Mason Deaver is definitely an author that we all need to watch. The next book I am so pumped about. This is another contemporary. This is Better Together by Christine Riccio, and I am ready for this book. I absolutely loved her other book, Again But Better, so much. I loved it. 4 to 5 stars. I loved it. I know that's a totally unpopular opinion. A lot of people did not like that book. I, however, loved it so much. It gave me so much joy. And this cover, there's actually kind of like 2 covers, one on the front and one on the back, and they're gorgeous. They're beautiful. Oh my gosh. I just like the details in these covers are just, oh my gosh, breathtaking. And this says, Jamie's an aspiring stand-up comic in Los Angeles with a growing case of stage anxiety. Siri's a stunning ballerina from New Jersey nursing a career-changing injury. They've both signed up for the same session at an off-the-grid Rediscover Yourself retreat in Colorado. When they run into each other, their worlds turn upside down. Jamie and Siri are sisters, torn apart at a young age by their parents' volatile divorce. They've grown up living completely separate lives, Jamie with their dad and Siri with their mom. Now reunited after a decade apart, they hatch a plot to switch places. It's time they get to know and confront each of their estranged parents. With an accidental assist from some fortuitous magic, Jamie arrives in New Jersey looking to all the world like Siri, and Siri steps off her flight sporting a Jamie glamour. The sisters unexpectedly find themselves stuck living in each other's shoes. Soon, Siri's crushing on Jamie's best friend Dawn. Jamie's falling for the handsome New Yorker she keeps running into, Zorar. Alongside a parade of hijinks and budding romance, both girls work to navigate their broken family life and the stresses of impending adulthood. I am so excited about this book. I loved Again But Better so much. The writing was just absolutely magical, and that book really transported me. I'm so excited for this one, and I love The Parent Trap. Like, I grew up watching The Parent Trap, and I'm just so excited to read like a sort of like YA contemporary version of The Parent Trap. I'm ready for this book. I'm so excited. The cover's gorgeous. The premise is so interesting. And I'm just ready for more Christine Riccio content. The next book is Like a Love Song by Gabriella Martins, and I'm also really excited about this book because when I read the description of it, it totally reminded me a little bit of like Taylor Swift and also her current boyfriend Joe Alwyn. It felt like Brazilian Taylor Swift and regular Joe Alwyn. Because basically the premise of this story is that the main character Natalie, she is a pop star and she goes through this really brutal breakup that almost tanks her career. And so in order to save her career, her team decides that she is going to start fake dating this indie actor. And that's just like, it just gives me all the feels. I'm so excited to read this book, and it totally just reminds me, because like Taylor Swift is a pop star and then Joe Alwyn kind of is like an indie actor. He kind of like acts in some like more independent movies and isn't like super mainstream. So this is going to be really exciting. I really like this premise. I love fake dating tropes. They're some of my favorites, especially in contemporary. They're so much fun. And this cover just, it gives you so many good vibes. And I feel like this is going to be a super, super fun book to read. The next book on this list is Muse by Brittany Cavallaro, and I'm so excited about this book. It says American Royals meets the Winner's Curse in the first book of a best-selling author, Brittany Cavallaro's new duology. Set in alternate history American monarchy where a girl grapples for control of her own life in the middle of a looming war. The year is 1893 and war is brewing in the first American kingdom. But Claire Emerson has a bigger problem. While her father prepares to reveal the mighty weapon he's created to showcase the might of their province, St. Cloud, in the World's Fair, Claire is crafting a plan to escape. Claire's father is a sought-after inventor, but he believes his genius is a gift granted to him by his daughter's touch. He's kept Claire under his control for years. As St. Cloud prepares for war, Claire plans to claim her life for herself, even as her best friend, Beatrix, tries to convince her to stay and help with the growing resistance movement that wants to see a woman on the throne at any cost. And so it seems like her father's weapon ends up failing and Claire gets taken captive by Governor Remy Duchamp, St. Cloud's young, untried ruler. Remy believes that Claire's touch bestows graces he's never had, and with his governing power weakening and many political rivals planning his demise, Claire might be his only and best ally. So this is super interesting, and I love the World's Fair. I'm so intrigued by it, and I love any content that kind of revolves around the World's Fair, whether it be fictional or nonfiction. So I'm very excited about this book. I love Brittany Cavallaro's writing. I think it's absolutely wonderful. As y'all know, I love the A Study in Charlotte series, I guess quartet, because there's 4 books in the series. So I'm really excited for a duology from her, especially one that's set in sort of a more historical timeline. And I really love historical fiction, so it'll be super interesting to see that from Brittany Cavallaro. Okay, so that's a lot of books so far. I think we're gonna make a part 2 to this video because if I try to go through the rest of this list, it is going to take me at least another hour. So we're gonna cut this a little bit short and we're gonna make this a part 1 in this little series that we're going to be doing. I hope you all enjoyed this video, and I hope you all enjoyed some of my 2021 most anticipated books. I can't wait to show you all the rest of this list and get to kind of talk about some of the other books that are down here, because there are some sequels, there's some more Star Wars books, and I'm really, really excited to talk about them. Also, if you have any 2021 releases that you want to talk about and that you're super excited about that I did not mention, leave them down below in the comments and we can talk about some more releases. I am so excited. I feel like 2021 is going to be a really good year for YA book releases. And also, if you have any like adult book releases that you're excited about, let me know down below in the comments. I'm very interested in hearing more about some adult new releases. So I hope you all enjoyed this video, and if you did, go ahead and give it a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel. Also, go ahead and follow me on Instagram, Twitter, and Goodreads, and I will see you all in my next video, which hopefully will be a part 2 to this video. Bye! Ooh, I thought it'd be me and you.